So for step 31, attaching the rear gearbox, well, you can see we're going to bring this in and attach it to the chassis, and you can see that there are 1, 2, 3 screws on either side, and then we're going to connect the motor wires. So there are the screws we need, and of course it's just showing you how to connect it. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So here is our gearbox, here is our chassis. So we need to fit this here just like that, because there's going to be this screw, and this screw that are going to go into this part, this one, and this one. Now, I think to do it, the easiest thing is making sure this is sort of going in from the bottom, so you can put that in on either side and kind of pull it apart, because it kind of pulls a bit. There we go. And then the same thing on the top. We're going to have to pull this apart and make sure that it slides over top, which it has. There we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start this off. So let's get this one partly in. Same thing with this. I want to make sure that that goes in correctly. And of course the one down here, should need to make sure that that sits correctly. Now, I'm not going in all the way because I want to make sure that everything is seated properly on the other side as well. So we need to make sure that these are going to go through. Same thing with this one at the back. And the last hole down at the bottom, just trying to line it up a little bit here. Okay, so I'm going to turn this over and screw this one in a little farther. Same thing with the other side. Which everything seems to be okay. So I'll screw this in a bit more. And the thing is, I just tend to go around equally as much as possible, just in case there's anything that's binding. And I mean, we're almost at the end, so I'm gonna take this all the way now. Take the other side. And because they're tapping screws, we're going into hard plastic on both what you're screwing it into and the gearbox, that once you're at the end, you'll know. There we go. So lastly, let's get these bottom ones done. Last one. So there we go. There is our rear end attached to our chassis. That's awesome. This is really starting to take shape. So very, very cool. So the last thing that we need to take care of in this step is we need to connect the motor wires. So based on how this is going to go, it's going to be yellow to yellow. and blue to green. Just like that. And in a later step, we'll figure out how we want this to go, because you can see that technically the motor wires are going to fit down through there. So if I kind of push this a little bit so that it's more, it's flatter near the motor, that should fit in there just like that. And I know that there are some zip straps to kind of tie everything down, but that's how it should fit. And you'll notice that there's plenty of cable, so that works out well. So that means that step 31 is complete. So we'll move on to 32. Now we're going to attach the front gearbox and our propeller shaft. So for step 32, attaching the front gearbox, well, you can see we've got 4 screws that need to be used for this. And then we've got our propeller shaft, and we need to grease up both ends and put it all together at the same time. So there are the 4 screws that we need. There's our propeller shaft, and of course there's our built front end. So I'll set this up and we'll put this together. So you can see here that this is going to end up fitting in between, so it's kind of going inside the chassis for attaching it, and you've got the hole right here, and there's a hole right there, and those are the 2 that are going to be used to hold this in. And of course that's got to slide down in between the chassis, just like, if you can see that, just like that. Now the one other thing though is you do have to grease up our propeller shaft. Now the interesting thing about this is, which maybe to my mind is a little disappointing, I kind of call this the bent coat hanger drivetrain method, because it's not a true propeller shaft if you ask me. And it's weird because some of the kits like this will come with a real propeller shaft, like a dog bone shaft. This is just simply a bent wire, which I find odd, but it's worked for them in the past, but I just find it weird that some kits do come with it, some kits don't. We know that this has to go into the rear propeller joint, which you can see right there down at that side. So we're going to slide that into there. Now you'll notice that we want to keep the cables and wires out of the way of this, and this is going to have to go in at the same time. So you need to put that into the front propeller joint. Which it should go in. There we go. Go back into the rear propeller joint. And I'm just going to pull things aside, making sure that it's out of the way. That's then going to slide down in between. So you can see that we've got the 2 screws there, and there's the 2 at the bottom. So it should ultimately look like that with the shaft down there. Now, just to make sure everything's kind of held into place, I'm going to get one of these screws into place. And I'll do it same thing on the other side, just to make sure we've got it being held. And now we'll go down here and make sure that that is seated right. Looks like it is. Yeah. And again, I'll do the same thing on the other side, because I want to make sure that all of the screws are going in correctly. Okay, so they've all gone in okay. So I'm gonna tighten this all up now. And again, they're tapping screws, so you don't need to worry about it too much. When you get to the end, you'll know you're at the end, because it won't go any farther. And let's do it this way. We can get these ones in place. Same thing on the other side. Final check on this side. Yep. So there we go. There is our front end of the chassis. So now we have our completed chassis together. Very, very cool. Yeah, I think this looks great. So if you can see here, the only other thing is they're saying you need to play around with the zip straps and secure the cabling. I'm not going to do that quite yet. I'm going to go a little farther into the build before I make any changes. So I'm going to say that step 32 is complete, and we can now move on to step 33 and attach the front bumper.